What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and this is a mod overview of the Deathwing. Alright guys, this is titled Deathwing because of the dragon hydro dip that is on here. The commissioner requested this specific hydro dip, and I thought that Deathwing was a really cool dragon name from actually World of Warcraft. I think this build turned out just pretty darn awesome. There's only a few minor things, which there always are with a build. When you're a perfectionist like me, there's always this like, oh, I wish that went a little bit better, but you know, I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. The paint, the 2K clear coat, I'm just in love with this clear coat, you guys, and it just really, really makes the project pop in the end, and it's just amazing. All these paints just shine and sparkle like they're meant to. So if you're not using 2K clear coat, spend the extra money and use it, especially when you're using like automotive paint or doing a hydro dip. I think it's really, really worth it. That's just my suggestion. Let's talk about what's going on with the blaster here, what I've done to the outside, and then we'll work our way inside. So obviously, like I said, it's a hydro dip blaster. That's how I got this pattern on here. But first I started off, you know, as I always do, sanding it down, putting on a duplicolor vinyl dye. It was a gray vinyl dye. Then I hit it with a black duplicolor automotive paint, and then I taped off the grip, the portion up here, the cheek rest. Obviously, I completely removed this part, so this was all painted black here by itself. And then the portion down here, the little grip area, has been painted black also. So I taped all that off, and then I came back and I hit it with this orange mist, which is also a duplicolor automotive paint. Hard to find. I actually had to order this one online and paid a little bit more because of that. And slightly disappointed because it came out more of a copper than the orange that it was originally supposed to be. But honestly, once I hit it with the 2K clear coat, it really did start to turn a little more orange, and then when you put the orange parts next to it, it looks a little more orange. It's still a little bit coppery, but I actually really like the color. I think the color is really nice. It's just not quite what I was expecting, so no big deal. After I did that, I taped off the stripe here and hit it with the silver duplicolor automotive paint again. And then I went ahead and put the dip on, and that's how you got what you got here today. After all that, obviously you have to remove all the tape, and then I put on the 2K clear coat. Internally, pretty awesome. I actually did all the internals before I did any of the painting, which I like to do with a Rapidstrike because there's a lot of tweaking you have to do with a Rapidstrike just to get things right. Trigger placement and the way I do my trigger 3-switch setup in here is a bit tricky, so it's nice to get that as right as possible before you get all the paint on, just so you don't have to open it up and close it, which I still had to do quite a few times just to get it perfect after I put the paint on, but the less you have to do that, the better, obviously. Like I said, if you want to see more detail, like exactly how I did this, check out the build video, but man, it's really not super detailed on there. I'll probably at some point do a video showing you guys how I exactly do this 3-switch setup and using the stock parts and not having to buy 3D printed parts. But I do have a 21 amp Omron switch for the rev trigger, and then 16 amp switches for both the main trigger and the return trigger for the pusher. So it is a 3-switch setup, which is really good and gives you really good cycle control and really good single shot ability, which is important to me with any full auto build, because honestly when I pull the trigger, I don't want to shoot off 3-4 shots. I want to be able to shoot off just one if I want to, and then if I want to burst fire 2-3 shots, I should be able to do that just fine. You know, with a little bit of practice, should be no problem. So that's why we go with this 3-switch setup, which is, in my opinion, very important. The whole thing has been wired with 16 gauge wire, which is very difficult to get to fit in, but it is possible. There is Hellcat 180 motors for the flywheels, and then I have a Rhino pusher motor in the back. It is the stock motor cage, but I did replace the flywheels with a well-balanced set of Strife flywheels, so it should help out a little bit. I do have a nice voltmeter tucked away underneath the sling mount here, and that is turned on when you open the jam door. So, like I said, I did all the internals before I did the paint job, so actually the internals are all removable. I think the only thing I glued down was the voltmeter, just to make sure it stayed in place. And then the motor cage by itself can come out, and you can replace that. If the commissioner wants to replace that with an upgraded motor cage at some point, he can do so. I did hit it with a few accents of paint here with my test doors to give it just a little bit of, you know, detailing on the black there. This blaster is maybe a tad bit more black than I normally would go with for my personal blaster, but this is what the commissioner wanted, and I'm happy to do that for him. I still think it has plenty of color on it, especially with all the orange that I kept on the Rapidstrike, which I think is very important when doing a Rapidstrike build. I think it just makes it look really, really cool and still allows you to play with it outside. Obviously, this is going to run on a 3S LiPo in here. That's the build. Let's go ahead and fire it off. 103, 108, 118, 119, 118, 13, 96, 101, 118, 124, 123, 120, 122. So pretty darn good performance out of a stock cage and stock wheels. So you can still get pretty good FPS readings just from that if you put some 180s in there. So okay guys, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot off a couple just burst fire, and then we'll unload a whole 22 full auto. So as you can see, this thing shoots pretty hard, has a pretty darn good rate of fire, and has pretty good single shot ability. So very controllable, very easy to use, and I can't wait to send this off to the commissioner, even though I will be sad to let it go because it just turned out amazing. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Check out my build video for this if you want to see a more in-depth look of how this was created. Check out the build video, link in the description box below and at the end of the video. And as always, peace out, guys. I'm a killer, 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 killer.